Hey there, welcome back to the channel where I bring you the internet's best stories while you relax. Let's dive in. Am I the a-hole for shutting down my wife's party favor idea? For some context, the story starts last year at our 7-year-old son's birthday party. I, 32M, and my wife, 32F, held the party at our home. We decided to leave the bulk of the planning to my wife, as she loves this kind of thing and wanted to take the reins. I had no reason to doubt any of her plans, as she did a great job with our past parties. I handled invites, food orders, and anything else she needed me to do. To her credit, she did a great job with the party itself. Everything ran smoothly and the kids had a great time. Until she brought out the party favors that she had kept a surprise from me. They came out when our friend had to leave with her daughter right after the cake. Before she could, my wife went into the back room and came out with a bag, the biggest grin on her face. What was inside the bag, you ask? A small tetra fish from the pet store, to be given as a party favor. My friend was flabbergasted. Her daughter's face beamed with excitement at the sight of her new pet. "Mommy! I've always wanted a fish." My friend was at a loss for words, only glaring at me. She declined the fish, walking out of the party while her daughter clung to her, throwing a tantrum about turning down her new pet. Obviously, the chaos caused a scene, as all the children now knew about the fish. Every single parent in the room was pissed. Glaring, muttering, the whole works. What are we going to tell our kids? Great, now I have to get a fish tank. Most parents obliged and reluctantly accepted the fish. The whole time, my wife was elated at the sight of the happy children, oblivious to how their parents reacted. We ended up having to take a few fish home that had been turned down, meaning we also had to buy a tank. My wife couldn't understand why anyone would pass up a wonderful 50-cent fish she grabbed this morning from PetSmart. Fast forward to now, 1 year later. It's a month away from my son's 8th birthday party, and my wife broached the topic of party favors. She exclaimed that we should hand out fish again. The kids loved it, it was a hit last year. I do not want to go through this again. Several of my friends who were at the party complained about having to take care of these fish, being put in a situation where they felt pressure to accept the gift to avoid upsetting their child. They had never received such a ridiculous party favor, and they wouldn't be attending if this was the case again. Not to mention, this feels horribly abusive to the fish who now have owners who don't want them. My wife brushed all of this off, saying that the parents were being selfish for not thinking about what makes the kids happy. She apparently didn't notice anyone upset at the party, only focusing on how the kids felt. She's calling me controlling, saying she doesn't even want to plan the party if she can't have this her way. All of her small group church friends agree with her. I don't want to upset my friends by putting them in an unfair situation, but I don't want to upset my wife because she truly does enjoy putting these events together. So, Reddit, aita for telling my wife not to buy party favor fish? Update. Hey Reddit. It's been nearly a month since I posted about the party favor situation between my wife and I. My son had his birthday yesterday. I wanted to share an update on how everything turned out. TLDR, last year, my wife handed out pet fish as party favors and insisted we do it again this year. I refused, and she called me controlling. I took your guys' advice and decided to just talk to her. I used a lot of your points from the comments to reason with her, especially the ones about animal abuse. My wife just kept insisting that I was controlling, eventually just shutting down and walking away, giving me the silent treatment. For those of you asking if this has happened before, yes. Not the party situation exactly, but that I'm going to make a horrible selfish decision and if you push back your controlling behavior. She has backed out of multiple parties and events last minute because she didn't feel like going, and accused me of abandoning her when I told her I still wanted to go. Insisted I stop playing guitar because she finds it annoying. Attended a wedding in a swimsuit because she was told there was a pool. proceeded to spend the whole reception at the pool because they're your friends, I don't really care about celebrating them, pushed back on my insistence to find a new school for our son, even though he was being bullied, because she didn't feel like causing a scene. Our son is in a new school now, and he's much happier. I was fed up, and refused to give in. I can't let my son go through this, and I'm not letting him lose friends because of my wife's selfishness. After literally following my wife around the house, trying to get her to talk to me, she said, "Fine, if you want it your way, you can plan this party yourself." So, I did. I planned the party myself, besides the invitation, location, and date, which were already planned. My wife also demanded on picking out the cake, and that wasn't a hill I was willing to die on. It wasn't anything special, but I'm actually kinda proud. It was Jurassic Park themed. My son and I just watched all the movies together, and he adores them. He's really excited for the new one. I themed each table around different dinosaurs, and put little plastic dinosaurs everywhere. As for the party favors, I gave out little bags of candy. Nothing amazing, but the kids were happy, my son was thrilled. And no fish were harmed in the making of this party. After the party, my wife kept telling me how lame everything was. That the party was boring, and the kids weren't literally jumping up and down for my candy party favors like they were for hers. Frankly, I don't care. Sure, the kids didn't have a brand new pet to bring home, but at least my party favors didn't piss off all of our friends and doom my son to a life of friendlessness. Truly, I don't know how things are going to go with my wife and I. I'm reaching my limit with her insanity. I've tried insisting on marriage counseling, but she refused unless it was done by the pastor of our church. We went, and it was a whole session of the pastor telling me I'm not a good enough man to take care of my wife. About how I'm turning away from God with my actions, and that's ruining our marriage. Needless to say, we haven't gone back, and ever since my wife loves to use this session against me in arguments. I loved her, but I'm finding it harder each day to keep being in love. I hate the idea of my son thinking this is a happy marriage, and that this is a healthy way to live. Divorce scares me, but I don't know if I can live with this anymore. In the end, thank you, Reddit, for helping me realize that there's a lot going wrong in my marriage, far beyond a forced fish adoption crisis. I have a lot to think about, but for now, I'm going to finish watching Jurassic World with my son, who's curled up in my lap. By the way, 2 of the 3 fish we had to take home last year are still going strong. They've grown on me. But damn, I'm never getting another fish. Story 2. Would it be weird if I, 20F, asked out the stranger, 24em, who saved me from being kidnapped out to dinner? I'm gonna talk about how I was almost kidnapped in detail since it's actually a bit therapeutic for me to write it out, but if you aren't interested in reading, just skip down 2 paragraphs. 5 days ago, and against my best interest, I was out running at about 10 p.m. Our school has an open campus that is surrounded by woods and a couple of easy trails. It can sometimes get a bit scary at night. Since my school and its surrounding neighborhood is very safe, I don't usually worry much when I go out running alone. That particular night, my phone, which was also my flashlight, decided to die mid-run. I should have known that could happen since my phone had been having battery issues. It would die even though it was at 10 to 20% SMH iPhones. That immediately set me into a panic since I was on a pretty secluded trail with very minimal lighting. I stopped running to fumble with my phone to see if it would miraculously turn back on, but nope. I was also wearing light reflective leggings, so I was definitely visible to others. I was about to start running again when I noticed a guy approaching me. I hadn't noticed him prior to this, but he was probably hidden in the woods next to the trail. There's like a public bathroom and a picnic table. He was smoking a cigarette and had his phone in hand, and I immediately got bad vibes. By the time I realized where he even came from, he was already only a couple feet away from me, where he called out, "Miss, are you lost?" His speech sounded a bit slurred and he reeked of cigarette smoke, which led me to think that he was probably a homeless drunk living near the picnic table and public bathroom. I told him no and that I was on my way to my friend's house, despite my athletic gear, lol. Then he gave me a once-over, whistled, and said, "Damn girl, you look delicious. Look at that ass," and he fucking slapped my ass. I think I yelped and immediately stepped away, but he reached out and grabbed my wrist. I thought it was actually the end for me and I screamed as loud as I can, but there was literally no one near me. My heart was beating out of my chest and I felt like I was going to fucking faint. He chuckled and said, "Shut up, no one can hear you anyway." My heart was beating out of my chest and there was so much adrenaline coursing through my body. Thank the fucking stars for what happened next. From behind me, the trail suddenly became lit and I realized there was a biker heading my way. Then I heard him call, "Maddie? Is that you? Holy shit, what are you doing out so late?" The guy muttered, "Shit," and immediately let go and began running away. The biker got closer and immediately braked and got off. I have no fucking clue who this guy is and he doesn't know me either. He asked me if I was okay and what that guy was doing, and I explained to him everything that happened and almost got on my knees to thank him. He looked just as freaked out as me. He asked where I live and I told him I was a student at, name of college, and he told me that he's a grad student at the same school. He also immediately took off his sweatshirt and gave it to me to wear since I was only in a tank top. He then walked me all the way back to my house, around 2 miles. On the way, he tried to ask me about school and stuff, but I was a bit too frazzled to give any sensible response, so he mostly talked about himself. He told me he was a second-year CS student at the engineering school. He likes to cook, his favorite show is The Office, he enjoys playing basketball but he sucks, he works part-time at Google, and more stuff I can't remember. He also gave me his email and number and told me that if I needed him to talk with the police to file a report to just shoot him a message or call. He apologized for what happened and said that he was glad I was safe. I thanked him a billion more times and went home. The next day, I texted him and thanked him again and also went and filed a police report. But I feel like I can't thank him enough. He literally saved my life. Without a doubt, if he just kept biking or didn't see me, I would have been possibly killed. I don't know how I can show my gratitude. I really want to take him out to dinner, but would that be weird? I also have to return his sweatshirt. I'm also a bit infatuated by him. Do you guys think that's a good idea? Is there anything else I can do to show my gratitude? If I do go about asking him to dinner, what should I say? Should I call or text? By the way, I know a lot of you are going to ask if I'm planning on seeing a therapist, and the answer is yes, I've already booked an appointment. Although I think I'm dealing with it pretty well and have mostly put it behind me, I know that it is for the best that I see a therapist for a bit. Update. Hi guys. I'm back with the long-awaited update. But first, thank you all who responded on my first post and gave their advice. I definitely wouldn't have asked if it weren't for all the positive comments. A lot of you suggested that I just shoot him a text and give him an update in terms of my situation and then ask him if we could meet up for coffee. Dinner seemed too much like a date, so I could return his sweatshirt and thank him. That's basically exactly what I did. I shot him a text and told him that I had filed the police report and that the police will be in contact with me. Then I asked him, in a double text, if I could take him out to coffee to thank him and return his sweatshirt. He actually didn't respond for a good day and I was really starting to feel like I'd totally overstepped, but then he did. He first told me that it was great that I filed the report and then he asked me how I was feeling. He also said that I didn't have to thank him and that he was just doing what anyone would have done if they were in that situation, but that a quick coffee sounded good. So we scheduled to have coffee on a Saturday morning. Going into our meeting, I was actually super nervous for some reason and ended up being 15 minutes early. So I sat for about 10 minutes, fidgeting with his sweater and waiting for him to show up. To be honest, I wasn't even that sure I knew what he looked like. The entire night is still pretty jumbled, and when he was walking me back, I barely paid any attention to him. It was also super dark, since I was just replaying what happened over and over again in my head. I just remembered he was tall and had a nice smile. Then, this really tall dude walks in, scans the shop, sees me and then gives me an awkward smile and waves. I didn't know what to say after our initial niceties, so I just blurted out, "Whoa, your eyes are actually blue, I thought they were brown, ha." I wanted to crawl into a hole after I said that, but he laughed and said, "Yeah, they can be deceiving in the dark." Then we ordered coffee, he refused to let me pay, and we sat down. First things first, I gave him back his sweatshirt and he thanked me. We ended up chatting for 2 hours about mostly random stuff, like our classes, our summer, The Office, which is also my favorite show, politics, music, etc. I also asked him why he decided to call me Maddie when he was trying to save me, and he told me he read an article somewhere that if you pretend to know a stranger who's in trouble, you're most likely to help without escalating the situation or getting you or the other person hurt. So yes, he's sweet and caring and devilishly handsome, and we really clicked. But he didn't seem that interested in me, not that it was a date. So we then went about 5 days with no contact until I came across a meme about The Office and decided on a whim to send it to him. It ended up being a good decision since we ended up talking until 1 a.m. Next morning, I was feeling bold again, and after much debating, I sent him a text that said, "Hey, can I please take you out to lunch? Coffee didn't count since you didn't even let me pay for you." He said yes, and this time I managed to successfully pay for our meal. I wore a nice sundress to lunch and he said, "I love that dress. You look really good." We had a really great time again, but as we were leaving the restaurant I realized that he left his phone on the chair, so I grabbed it and gave it to him. This is important later on. About 2 weeks later, he went out of town, but we were still sporadically texting. He sent me a text that said, "Hey, can I take you out to dinner to thank you for grabbing my phone?" OMG. He's too cute. For those of you who might not have caught on, he was mimicking how I asked him out. Anyway, of course I said yes, and now we're going out to dinner tomorrow night. I like him a lot, but I have no idea how he feels about me. Maybe I'll ask him over dinner tomorrow. Smiley face. But so far, that's what has happened. Update 2. Hi again, guys. This is the long-awaited second update. But first, I have to thank all of you again for being so supportive. You guys literally all made my day with your positivity. So, the dinner date. I woke up Sunday morning at like 11 a.m., don't judge, and saw that there was already a text from him at 7:30 a.m. saying, "Hey, does cute little Mediterranean place sound good for tonight?" I'm at that stage where I'll smile and giggle at whatever text he sends me, so after doing that, I told him that it sounded great and asked him what time we should meet. We decided on 7 p.m. and he said, "Great. Pick you up at 6:45, to which I said, "You remember where I live?" And he said, "How could I not?" It was where I parted with my favorite sweater, Sai. He knocked on my door on time that night, but I, embarrassingly, was already waiting at the door, so I whipped the door open after he knocked once. Oh my gosh, the sight that met my eyes was beautiful. I'm just now realizing that this Reddit account has turned into my diary. He was wearing this light blue dress shirt, with the sleeves rolled up, that complemented his eyes with some nicely fitted black jeans, and he looked so nice. Then he gave me this awkward little smile and said, "You ready to go?" I followed him to his car and he opened the passenger door for me. I swooned. The car ride was a bit awkward at first, but then he asked me if I wanted to put on my Spotify and we ended up singing to Mr. Brightside. Turns out, he's a great singer. I asked him about it and he was in an a cappella group all 4 years of college and is some low-key cello prodigy. You bet I searched up him playing cello as a kid after I got home that night. We got to the restaurant, waited in line for a bit, then finally sat down and ordered. Once again, the conversation just flowed so nicely. We talked about literally everything, but I got to learn more about him this time around. I asked him if he used Reddit and he looked confused for a second and then said no. I think we're safe, for now, guys, haha. He made fun of my hands being small and then held up his hand for me to place mine against to compare. I swooned again. Then we had a nice conversation about how annoying contacts were after he choked on his water laughing at something and his contact shifted. Anyway, dinner ended too soon and it might have been just me, but I swear both of us were trying to walk as slow as possible back to the car. After we pulled up to my house, we had that moment where neither of us knew what to say or do, so I said, "Thanks for dinner," his name, let go of my purse, opened the car door, and stepped out. Naturally, he said, "Hey, wait, your purse," to which I responded very dramatically, "Oh no, I forgot my purse, thank you. I guess I have to take you out sometime to say thanks." He got it immediately and burst out laughing, face palmed into his steering wheel, and said, okay, good night and text me when. Needless to say, I could not sleep that night. Fast forward to Saturday night. On a whim, I text him, so, I'm about to have an office marathon. Do you want to come over and we can order takeout? He takes half an hour to respond but says, that actually sounds amazing, count me in. He comes in sweatpants, a hoodie, and glasses. Oh my god, why does he look so cute in glasses, and a bag of chips and guac? Swoon. We DoorDash Indian and start watching on my couch. At first we're sitting like a good foot apart, but then 3 episodes in, our legs are flush against each other's. Somewhere between the 5th and 6th episode, he leans back into the couch and I do too. By the 7th episode, my head is on his shoulder and his arm has moved behind me, sadly not wrapped around me though. After like 2 more episodes, he began dozing off and I poked him and asked if he needed to go back and sleep. He told me he's been staying up really late doing this project for one of his classes, so he's basically been only sleeping 5 hours a night. After hearing that, I shoved his up and told him he needed to sleep before 12 a.m. today. It was already like 11 p.m. At my door, he said sleepily, "Tonight was really fun. I hope we can do it again." He just looked so cute and kissable at that moment, so I just threw my arms around him and hugged him. He circled his arms around my waist and he was the first to pull back. But he didn't pull back all the way and we had a moment where I was trying to look anywhere but his lips and he was doing the same. Then he leaned in a bit, closed the distance and kissed me. I may have melted on the spot. It was really short but it was so sweet. He pulled back, said good night and left. Needless to say, I could not sleep again that night. That's what went on in the past week. To be very honest, I'm still not sure if he really likes me. Maybe he was really tired when he kissed me and wasn't thinking straight, who knows. This morning, he texted me and said he slept the best he's had in a while. I don't know what the next step is, but I'm over the fucking moon right now.